You're listening to the Business Communicators, presented by IABC Houston. And now your hosts, Austin Stetton, Hattie Horn, and Thomas Bain.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 3 of the Business Communicators, a podcast presented by IABC Houston. My name is Austin Stetton, joined alongside my co-host, as always, Hattie Horn and Thomas Bain, on this journey as we explore the world of communications and discuss the key issues and trends that impact our industry. If you're not following us on social media, just search at Biz Communicator on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And as of last Friday, just before the weekend, we are now on Facebook. So search at Biz Communicator on Facebook. Of course, you can watch all episodes on YouTube. So if you're watching this episode on YouTube, we would encourage you to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. That really helps us out. Leave a comment, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, all that whole thing. If you want to give us feedback, which really do take into consideration, or if you just want to give us show ideas, text podcast to 713-360-0133. That's podcast to 713-360-0133. And of course, you can email us if that's your thing, podcast@ibchouston.com. Now, Hattie, we've got a packed show today. We're going to talk about a new marketing buzzword. We're going to talk about how COVID-19 has enhanced the digital age, but how is everything going for you the last full week before Thanksgiving?
You know, it's been a really long week, and I'm really looking forward to Thanksgiving because I look forward to eating all my traditional foods. I love my cornbread dressing. I don't like the whole turkey, so I'll just take the turkey wings. And other than that, it's been a pretty good week. How about you?
I am really jealous of that cornbread dressing. That sounds really good.
Well, I may have to make you a little bitty pan of it and let you sample it.
I will definitely say yes. So
okay, I got you.
I'm on board with that. I'm doing pretty well. It's a hectic week, for us, just, right ahead of Thanksgiving, a lot going on, but hopefully, this podcast can serve as some positivity for people that are listening. And speaking of positivity, Thomas, the birthday boy, we posted this on Instagram last week. You turned 21 years old? Is that right?
No, I blew past 21 quite a while ago. And, thank you for all the birthday wishes from everybody I got in all the respective channels. Some of them are listeners, current listeners of our podcast, and some of them are future listeners of our podcast. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the birthday wishes. For Thanksgiving, I'm really looking forward to it. I keep threatening my wife, saying that we need to have a sugar-free, carb-free, low-fat Thanksgiving diet. And she kind of looks at me like, really? And I'm like, no, if we even think that way, we're going to have different issues.
Calories do not count on Thanksgiving. That's a fact.
Absolutely.
They don't count a week before Thanksgiving through Christmas.
True.
Are you kidding me?
We've had the COVID-19. Now let's add the holiday 15.
the COVID-15 was just practice for the holiday 15. But no, the birthday was good. It did bring up a lot of emails and topics that I started to get as we go through about the personalization, humanization. Is started to get a bunch of the emails and LinkedIn posts and LinkedIn messages and Facebook messages from companies that somehow knew it was my birthday. And I get the loyalty programs. I get the free burrito or the free ice cream cone or the free donut because I'm a part of those loyalty programs. But then there's some other companies that I never gave my information to. I never gave my name to. And yet I'm sitting here getting a birthday card from them, or I'm getting a birthday email to them. And it started making me think about, one, anybody who thinks that our information is private online is not there. But two, it's that attempt there. But then I started getting some from companies that I do business with where my name is misspelled. Or better yet, on Veterans Day, I got an email for I have it up right here, for an accounting company. And the title says, unknown, Veterans Day, honoring all those, and thank you for your service. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that's the way it needs to be. And as business communicators, we're trying to always be on. We're always trying to make sure our comments are relevant. We're always trying to be part of the customer journey. But it turns me off. Like, I've straight up told a guy one time who called me up. He's like, hey, I sent you an email through a company I do business with. I'm like, yeah, I didn't read it because you had my name misspelled. I get, a couple hundred emails a day. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. And so it made me start to wonder about how I know in the B2C space that customization and personalization is very important. And I was wondering what y'all's take is, because y'all are more on the external media and the internal comm side. What's y'all's thoughts on that? Would y'all be completely like offended that you're getting an email that your name is misspelled or that your name is now unknown?
I mean, I totally hear you on that. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because this week there was, a company called Mondelez. They actually coined a term, humaning. And there was a lot of blowback on social media. And when they created this term, it was a unique consumer-centric approach to marketing that creates real human connections with purpose, moving Mondelez International beyond cautious, data-driven tactics and uncovering what unites us all. I mean, let's just think about that for a minute. I mean, why put a buzzword on something that we should be doing anyways? I mean, I totally get what Thomas is saying about, the misspellings, just the lack of thought, the lack of care, and email communications, phone calls, text messages, whatever. I get why businesses do it. They're trying to appeal to an audience and to show they care. I totally get that. But do you? I mean, do you care?
That depends.
I think that's a problem. When I'm reaching out to somebody, even if it's a pitch note for this podcast, trying to reach, a new guest or something like that, or, reaching out to someone in the media to try to cover a story, you've got to personalize it, and you have to bring up something about them. And of course, I've made the mistake of, spelling someone's name wrong, and immediately after I hit send, I wish I could take it back. But you have to try to relate to people. And I think that's one thing that companies are doing wrong now, is they're taking people and customers for granted, and they're not taking that extra effort to personalize something, to make it matter to that person. And Hattie, I know you work in the internal comm space. I mean, how do you handle that humanization? Not the term humaning, but making those personal connections from an internal comms perspective?
Having a personal connection for me means having interaction with people as well. So if I'm interacting with you, what's really interesting is how companies like to do a variety of surveys to kind of get ideas of what people are thinking, what they're behaving, how they want to be communicated to. And those are the questions that I also like to ask as a communicator. When I'm talking to, various teams or individuals within teams, I'm asking them, hey guys, you just have to ask the right questions. But if you're going out from an external, and I think about myself as a consumer, what I like about the companies that do approach me or who do communicate with me, they're personalizing it based on my buying behavior, and what they think I like. And then they are communicating to me, say, hey, Hattie, we noticed you bought this before, so want to see if you want to buy it again, or see if you're interested in it. It's the same thing when you're talking to employees in an internal aspect. If they commented on something on our business social platform, hey, I like the way you guys did this. Can you do this again? Or can you bring this? So at least you know what they want to, the type of information that they want to receive, and you can personalize them or customize it or tailor that message to where when they receive it, they know that it's about them.
I think tailoring your message is so important, and you can do that too. I mean, it's not that difficult. It's about knowing your audience, having that trust, that relationship, and you could have the same overall message and then just customize it to internal audience versus external audience. I think sometimes my frustration is when people reach out and you can clearly tell they don't do any research like ahead of time. For this podcast, for example, we absolutely love it when people submit pitches to us to come onto the show. We've had a few people that have submitted pitches and have come onto the show, and it's been great. But we've also had several emails over the past 3 seasons of people trying to pitch an appearance on the show, and it just doesn't make sense. And it's like, are you just cold emailing every podcast that has some sort of conversation on business, or have you actually listened to our show? Because if you listen to the show or even just read the summary of the show, you would know that this pitch has no relevance to what we discuss. And it's the same thing, with LinkedIn. I get a little bit frustrated with LinkedIn at times because of the in-mail and those direct messages. I mean, they're not personable, and you can tell when someone's just copying and pasting a pitch note. And I think sometimes timing matters. Obviously, like our company, Hattie and I's company, it's going through layoffs right now. And there was a colleague of mine who sent me one of those standard form notes via LinkedIn, and in the form note was saying, we understand layoffs are coming at your company. Message me for more information on how we can set up your financial future. And it's like, I don't know, just think, put in that human touch, put in that extra effort. I don't know why in this, digital age, we've gotten away from that. Is it just laziness, Thomas?
I don't think it's laziness. I think it's more as we go through the digital transformation and companies going through digital transformation, thanks COVID, is a lot of the automation and the AI that takes place. So I got an email today from a company that I had started going down the path of doing work with at another employer for doing customer satisfaction, customer and employee satisfaction. So their job is to get customer satisfaction from all the different touch points. And they know my name. I have some of their people on my I have their personal cell phone numbers in my phone. And today I got an email from them with my name misspelled, but it wasn't just from their database. It was from a database like 3 or 4 other companies. So there's a lot of that buying and selling and trading of the information in the back of it. And so to your point is we rest on our laurels. We get to the point to where, this is automated, so we don't have to think about it. But we talked about the timing of it earlier is about, hey, when the Astros won the World Series against the Dodgers, imagine if an ad went out that said, congratulations, LA for winning the World Series, even though they didn't win. It's because we set these things, we set it and forget it. And there's a danger in that. But I want to come back to this article because in 2016, I saw an article about how communicators are really good at selling communications and creating new jargon to make us sound smarter and to move through it. We talk personalization, we talk omnichannel, we talk multi-channel, we talk everything. At the end of the day, really what we're trying to do is deliver the right message at the right time to the right person in the right medium. And then the part I add on is that's effective and efficient. That means that we're getting them to do what we want them to do. And so I used to play a game where I could tell what year they graduated from their MBA program based on what jargon they were using in their sales deck. North Star was a big one up until just recently. Has your company found its North Star? And you're like, well, isn't that mission, vision, and values and what we're trying to accomplish? Well, no, it's the North Star. Oh, okay. And then I heard, hey, we're bringing in the plane to we're landing the plane. That's the new one I heard in the past 6 months. And I'm like, oh, cool. So my professional take is on this article is that if you're running your own, you work for a company and you're CMO or somebody who's dealing with vendors, be leery of the jargon because they can sell you anything. But remember what you're trying to accomplish. And then on the reverse side of that is if you're a vendor, make sure you tailor your message to what the company's doing. And make sure that it's at the right time. To Austin's point, you don't want to say, hey, is your financial security secure when everybody's at unease?
Yeah, Hattie, I do want to kind of ask you this on the term of jargon, because I feel like kind of like Thomas alluded to, when people write, they try to sound smarter than they actually are, or try to sound smarter than the actual customers. I've told the story before, but several years ago, I was doing a video for National Engineering Week. And we had these new hires that were engineers. And I asked them a simple question: what is engineering? And they were trying to give me the most complex answers they could because they wanted to sound smart. They wanted to look intelligent on video. And I told them that their answers were horrible. They weren't authentic. They weren't real. So I told them, all right, pretend that you're talking to a group of kindergartners. What would you tell them? And then once they had that mindset, they were able to give me creative answers about what engineering is really like. And I think that video helped engage a younger audience. And I think it was more effective. But when it comes to jargon and writing, I know that you took a course last Friday that was on, smart brevity. I mean, what are your takes there?
I'm in full agreement. First of all, in my mind, you have to know who your audience is. And even in my education, when I have a journalism background, I was always taught to write at a certain level. They say 8th grade, 6th grade level, use simple words. Um, And what I like about the course that I take is it's about being smart, using muscular words, eliminating and cutting unnecessary verbiage, and capturing people even in your headline. Strong headlines, tell them why it matters. Whatever you're telling them, tell them why it matters, and then tell them what's next. Use bullets, bold, muscular, vivid, be vivid. But the main thing is to understand your audience, who they are, what they need to know, why they need to know it. If there's something they need to do, what do they need to do, and end it. If there's more detail, link it out. Link to more details somewhere else. And if they're curious, if you've captured their curiosity and you capture their attention, they'll go to that link and they'll read more details about what it is you were speaking of. And I actually love that, the simple way. I really dislike communication where you use words that are bigger. Half the time people will put them in a communication. They don't even know what that means, because I have to go back and ask them,
Absolutely.
what exactly were you trying to say? What do you want people to know? But that's incumbent upon us as communicators to be proactive in doing that, just like you did with the guy with the video. And he said certain things and you told him, hey, no, that exactly what specific do people need to know?
100%. I mean, you've got to keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Don't fake it. At the end of the day, authenticity matters.
I'm going to quote something here. It's from Albert Einstein. So if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it yourself. Meaning that, you have to be able to explain it. I think Austin's example is pretend like you're explaining this to a kindergarten. Teach me as a neophyte who doesn't know how to do it. Personal story. My undergrad is in public relations, so I learned how to write, in the Associated Press and the inverted pyramid style, less is more. And then I went back to school to get a master's degree in health services research statistics. And so I went from writing journalistic style to writing academia, statistics, measurement style. I'm still trying to forget all the stuff that I had to learn how to write in grad school, where more was more. And you had to, put little asterisks and explain what your p-value was and all the nerdy statistic stuff that comes with it. So pro tip, if you're thinking about getting a degree in statistics and communications, do your statistics before your communications. Just pro tip, because writing will be really challenging after you're learning academia writing style.
I did horrible in statistics in college. So anything with numbers, that's not me.
Well, I try to keep in mind more than anything else that people's attention spans are really, really short. And if I don't get that who, what, when, where, how, and why in that first couple of sentences, I'm losing them. And it's true, we lose them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why you're starting to see, so much success with video and short form content. Quibi, they had the opportunity, as we discussed a few weeks ago on the podcast, they couldn't capitalize on it. But there's a reason why apps like TikTok are taking off. It's because people can be entertained in 60 seconds or less. And that's the amazing thing as storytellers. So again, be smart about it. Know your audience, as Hattie and Thomas said. Keep it simple. Make sure that the message is clear, concise, and that you're giving them a call to action. That's so important. Don't create jargon just to make yourself sound smarter or to try to sell something on your company. Call it what it is. Be clear, be transparent, because at the end of the day, we're all doing the same job. And if you want to have that human connection in reality, you have to be authentic. You have to be real. And speaking of human connection and authenticity, do want to give a shout out really quickly to our sponsors of the podcast, Pierpont Communications, located here in Houston, one of the largest independent PR marketing and digital integrated public affairs firms in Texas. Great work. Phil Morbido and his team do a great job. So if you want to get in contact with them, visit peercom.com. Also, Mykrantz & Co. Chris Mykrantz, a great supporter of IBC Houston in this podcast. He's worked with, internal comms, employee communications, engagement for decades, change management, he's your guy. If you need help, definitely visit him, his website, mykrantzco.com. So thank you again to Pierpont and Mykrantz & Co. for sponsoring this podcast. But Hattie, earlier this week, you actually shared in our group thread, and I guess full transparency for those that don't know, we have a group thread where we discuss, show topics, ideas, current events, what's going on, globally. We discuss that via WhatsApp. And Hattie, you shared a link about COVID-19. And I know that COVID-19 is something that not a lot of people want to hear about, but it has changed the way that we've communicated and how it's sort of accelerated this digital age. Hattie, can you kind of just give us some insights on this study that was done by McKinsey?
Yeah, I was just trolling the internet and I thought it was really, really interesting. McKinsey and Company put out some data analysis about how B2B sales have changed forever since COVID-19. They did some research on decision makers' behavior globally across industries since the crisis began, and it revealed that there was this big digital shift, and it's here to stay. Both B2B buyers and sellers prefer the new digital reality. And then more than 3/4 of buyers and sellers say that they now prefer digital, self-serve, and remote human engagement over face-to-face interactions. And that's a sentiment that's steadily just intensified even after the lockdowns have ended. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, man, Thomas, I'm going to get to you in just a second on this one, but I am torn. I mean, I do think there's upside of, being able to work from home, being able to take care of different tasks throughout the day and kind of work at your own pace. I mean, I've had bosses tell me in the past that they don't care how long or when I work, as long as I get my stuff done. And at the end of the day, I think that's the most important thing. So I do like this, agility, this flexibility to be able to work whatever works. If you've got a kid and you want to go see their soccer game at like 4:00 or soccer practice, whatever, you can do that and maybe finish up some emails at night. I think that's totally fine. But I would caution that we are becoming too reliant on digital and that there is a little bit of fatigue that is going on. For this podcast, for example, I would much, much rather see you guys in person and record in person than to have to do this via Zoom and look at your faces on a screen. Although both beautiful faces, I will say that. It takes away that human element. And I think as humans, we crave connection, we crave touch. That's just so much of a part of at least who I am. And I think that's been so difficult with the pandemic. And I worry that people are starting to get maybe complacent and maybe we might lose some of that human connection.
When I thought about it more in terms of convenience for myself, because I agree, I miss the human interaction and touch, but I love the convenience of being able to shop online, then go pick up my items, or and not have to really touch anything or touch anybody, and they do it for me. So it's kind of spoiled me in some aspects, but in other aspects, I also miss going into the stores, touching and feeling the items that I want to do. And I hope to get back to that more often, but that's kind of my take on it.
It's interesting you say that, because up until recently I was more on the B2C side, so I was taking these vendors calls and the B2B stuff coming in on it. I don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the free lunches and the free dinners that you would get for them, and the cold call emails. But I think the real challenge is COVID has made the digital transformation real. As Austin said, we have a WhatsApp conversation that we thing, and our show notes go into Google Docs, which is like Word or PowerPoint or Excel. But there are some nuances there that if I'm doing heavy lifting with some of my forecasting, then I need Excel, not the Google Docs Excel. And so how do we go from there? But one of the trends that I'm finding that's really, really disheartening, and I'm seeing it on LinkedIn more so now, is with one of the roles in the company that I'm working with now. We're starting off. It's a startup company, and so I'm getting a lot of calls from marketing agencies and lead generations and everything under the sun, and they're all like, "We want to talk. We want to talk. We want to talk. Follow this link to schedule some time with me." And I'm like, "Wait a minute here. You're wanting me to do the work to talk to you when I already know what I'm looking for here. And that's always been my statement. And so all of you e-commerce companies, here is your $1 million tip that every consultant will come in and tell you, and you can get it free right here on the Business Communicator. Make it as easy as possible to buy. Make it as few clicks as possible to buy. You see an ad for a chair, you click on that ad for the chair, it better be at the place where you put the chair in the cart and you pay, not to your homepage where they have to search for the chair and then finally figure out what color they want and then put it in their thing. And then, the 19 steps goes from there. That's my challenge is some of them I'm like, I want to talk to you, but I don't want to schedule my own time. I would rather you keep that personalization email coming back and forth saying, hey, these are some times, are any of these work for you? Can we chit chat or can I send you over a white paper? But the B2B side, I'm seeing the B2B side starting to become more and more like the B2C side, business to business versus business to consumer. Business to consumer is always that personalization. It's my time. I want to shop when I'm sitting on my couch in my pajamas watching Emily in Paris. And that was a little inside joke for all of the people.
You'll have to go back to the end of season 2, episode 17 to listen to that.
Yes. And so I want to shop when I'm there, not when I'm ready to go to the mall or when I'm thinking about it. It's that real time thing. And B2B is becoming more and more along those lines, is that the personalization needs to be there. The human touch needs to be there. The my time needs to be there. So that's my take on that whole article, the McKinsey & Co. Is while I do see a lot of that being 100% true, but I think that people are starting to rest on their laurels on that automation side of it.
And to Hattie's point, though, I do like some of the benefits of, companies like Amazon or even locally grocery stores that do curbside pickup or delivery. Time is your most valuable asset at the end of the day. How you choose to spend it, can define happiness, sadness, so many emotions. And sometimes when you've got a hectic schedule, it's just nice to be able to order something on Amazon or, from Central Market and just you have it delivered to your door. That convenience factor is nice. But at other times, I just enjoy going out and spending 45 minutes to an hour in Central Market, looking at different items, trying to figure out different recipes, things like that. About a week and a half ago, the Houston Open was being held here in downtown Houston. And I had a colleague that had tickets that he was going to give me. And he asked me, what's your address? I can just send them to you. I was like, no, I'm going to drive out to you and pick them up if that's okay with you. It was 45 minutes out of my way, but for me, it was worth it. I spent about an hour and a half just chatting with him and catching up. So to me, I wanted that human connection. I crave that. And, I do like that side of convenience. Sometimes it's so helpful, especially when we're just slammed with, work obligations, family obligations. But Hattie, I'm kind of curious from your end, is this move to digital, is it good for our mental health?
One of the things that the research also included was that B2B felt like safety was the dominant reason. And when you think about all of the COVID surge is still going up, safety is still a priority. So I think it could go either way. And I'm big on the safety part. I want to be safe. I want to feel safe when I'm buying things. So I don't know if it's going to be, I think it's going to continue to be primary. I don't know that it will be the overarching factor. We'll see. Depending on how intelligence gets better and how it personalizes and customizing information, though, that's the one thing that could make it, more of a dominant factor.
And I'm gonna make 2 quick comments here. First, I'm gonna circle back to Austin about the Ultima commercial that's being shown right now, even in COVID, where the guy has the social media post that says, "What are you doing?" And the guy gets in his car, drives to the house, and he knocks on the door, and he's like, "Nothing." And the guy's like, "You answered my social media post in person?" He's like, "Yep." And come on in. So I feel that, like, it's like, hey, let's actually talk. I have some friends who work in sales for major global companies, and they have AI bots that are going out there and acting as a human, setting up meetings and distributing white papers. And they straight up told me, yeah, if we get a call and they're saying, I'm looking for so-and-so, we have a list of reasons on why they're not here. Everything from, oh, well, she stepped out of the office for a while, or he's on paternity leave, but I can help take your call. And so that initial touch might not even be a real human. But again, are we resting on our laurels, or are we just at some point in time going to be 100% non-humanized?
I think of an automation thing is really interesting. I don't know if you guys remember this, but probably 2 or 3 years ago, Google had, a huge tech update where they were promoting a bunch of their new products. I think the Google Pixel. And then they also showed this new software that they were working on. It was like Google Assistant. And, Google Assistant exists now, but they were trying to humanize it a little bit more. And we actually did like a test call for a woman who was wanting to schedule a hair appointment. And they recorded the conversation, and they just played the conversation with like no context. And it sounds like an actual human conversation, I'm trying to, schedule a hair appointment for Thomas Bain. Just want to see if we can do it Saturday at 12:30. Oh, well, 12:30 isn't available. How about 2? Oh yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and mark it down. Perfect. That was the conversation. And afterwards, Google said, what you just heard was a robot talking to a human. And the human had absolutely no idea that they were talking to a robot, but it was able to use the AI, the intelligence, to have that conversation. So, automation is going to be a thing moving forward. And I don't know, is that a good thing, or does that sort of mean that, consumers and employees moving forward are just a means to an end?
When I heard you talking about that just now, it made me think of the nonprofit industry, which is a very high touch human type industry where people want to see. They're not giving money to just, nonprofits. They're giving money to people to help other people. So while I think AI is important, I wouldn't want to lose that in terms of, so it just depends. You don't want to lose that because it becomes so disingenuous and insincere. After a while, I'm talking to a bot who's going to tell me, hi, Hattie, here's your $50 and thank you for giving it to Billy. And I don't know who Billy is. I haven't seen Billy, and it just turns me off at that particular standpoint.
There's a guy that we had on the March IBC Houston webinar. His name's Chris Yandel, Dr. Chris Yandel. He's actually my old boss from when I was working in athletics at Baylor. He was really big into thank you notes and actually taking the time to write thank you notes. And he's a very, very talented writer. I'm going to give him a plug here, but he wrote a book. I think it's Dad Lunch Notes. We'll drop a link in the show notes, but it was just a series of notes that he wrote to his daughter when she began 4th grade that were encouraging, daily notes. And I think that being able to touch something like that, being able to read something like that was handwritten, it just means so much more than just that email that you get that is just a form letter. He actually shared something on Friday on Instagram, but it said kindness cost $0. It's free. Everyone wants free stuff. Give them kindness. I don't know. Just words to think about.
Going back to the proper medium, it reminds me of a cartoon from 5, 10, 15 years ago, where it had a guy who had so much junk mail in his hand. He's like, woohoo, I have an email. And then it fast forward to today, and it's like another spam email. And he's like, woohoo, a card in the mail. And so I agree. It's the kindness. It's that human touch on the B2B. I'm torn on, should we go full automation, 100% digitalization, or should we still keep that personal touch? Because at the end of the day, people buy from people. People buy for need.
I agree with you.
Where is the fine line between the two? To the nonprofit, I'm not going to donate to a company or an organization unless I have some sort of personal connection to it, whether it's something that affects me or that I'm with, or the person who's asking for donations is a friend. And I like cartoons. There's a cartoonist named Tom Fishburne. He sends out a weekly email with a cartoon of it, and he's very, very good because it's relevant topic. And I'm sure at some point in time, I'm going to try to get him on this podcast. But he talks about this humanization and the B2B and everything along those lines. And so I just think it resonates with me that this whole topic, this whole conversation that we had today is resonating with me.
You can get me to buy, but how are you going to show your appreciation from that personalization for me buying it, besides saying thank you? How can you actually make me feel like you appreciated me taking the time to not only listen to you, go through your spiel, and to buy from you? So, and sometimes I think automation doesn't land well in that piece of it for me. So,
yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a fascinating conversation today, because I think the major theme through all of this has been relationships matter. Networking matters. Even during times of, the pandemic, where we're having to do things differently, and people are seemingly wanting more digital content, there's also that Zoom fatigue, getting on a call. So how do you work through that? And so my challenge to people listening today on the podcast, and feel free to send us, tips, things that have worked for you. Just, shoot us a text, shoot us an email, podcast@ibchouston.com. Let us know what's worked for you. I think that at the end of the day, if you are going to fully embrace digital, you've got to be creative. You've got to push the envelope. Don't just do what everyone else is doing. Do something that can help elevate your brand and show that you are the subject matter expert or leader in this space. Don't be complacent. Find a way to cut through the noise. I think that will really help your brand or your company grow moving forward as we navigate this new normal. Because although there was good news about a vaccine coming from Pfizer, it's going to take a while to distribute. And then people are still going to want to work from home. And we're just going to have to get used to this, maybe hybrid working environment moving forward.
Cut through the noise and make it as easy as possible for you to collect the donation, to make the sale, to close something else. Don't make it hard on your customers. Please, please, please don't make it hard on your customers.
Also,
Absolutely.
understand who your audience is. Understand what they want. Understand who they are. Because as these guys are saying, if you don't know your stuff, you don't know your audience, you don't know what it is, understand what it is you're even selling to them, it's not going to matter. And if you don't have a relationship, build one.
That's the difference between good and great. It's relationships, understanding your audience, not just having data, but knowing how to use and interpret that data. I think that's so important moving forward. But Hattie, Thomas, I think this was a really good conversation today. Always love podcasting with you both. And we had a lot of popular feedback, I guess, for some of our show recommendations. We know the Thanksgiving holiday is coming up. So, maybe the weather isn't going to be the best where you're at. So if you want to watch something other than football and the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving, which, the Dallas Cowboys not doing so hot this year. I don't know if that Thanksgiving game is going to be well. And if you're a fan of the Texans, they're not doing so well, and they're also playing on Thanksgiving. So if you don't want to watch football during the Thanksgiving break, what should you be watching? And Thomas, Hattie gave a recommendation a few weeks ago about Emily in Paris. You alluded to it a few minutes ago. What are your thoughts on Hattie's rec?
I think it's good. I really do. I think it shows the naivete that humans have about different cultures, different organizations. Even if we have the same profession, it changes the mindset through there. And so, yeah, I picked it up. I'm still currently watching it. But other movies that I'm watching, I haven't really watched anything. Football seems to be what I want to watch, even though from the sounds of all the stuff that's going on, they're starting to cancel a lot of the games. So it'll be real interesting to see how far into the season football lasts, both at the collegiate level, the high school level, and the professional level, since it's not like the NBA where there was a bubble in Orlando.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Hattie, what are you watching?
Y'all probably not going to be interested in this, but I'm big into reruns right now on Netflix. So I'm watching all of the different sitcoms from the 90s that I loved. I finished up Moesha.
Oh, that was a great
and
show.
I just finished up Sister about the Maori twins. So I'm moving on to reading a book. So I just kind of switch back and forth. So we'll see what's next. But I'm also watching a lot of Hallmark Christmas movies because they're so romantic.
It is the time of the year for those. I do want to go back and say I am watching The Mandalorian, but I'm kind of mad that they don't just dump it all in one, so I can't just binge the whole thing. Instead, I have to like wait like a little kid at the toy store, like, come on, next episode. So smart on Disney, keeping me engaged and feeling like a little kid, but still just, come on, I want to watch the next one, because I don't have the patience to say, okay, I'm gonna let them all release and then watch it come December. I don't have that.
Yeah, that's the tough thing with the shows that come out on Apple TV and Disney Plus is they're not like Netflix where they drop all at once. You know, you've got to space it out. And Hattie, I thought that it was fun that you mentioned Sister. I don't know if you follow Tia Mallory's YouTube page, but she's got a really, really brilliant YouTube page, and she just does such a great job. I don't know, I just love her personality. So check that out. Maybe we can get her on the show sometime. You know, talk about the going from child star to YouTube personality. But
let's get them both.
Let's get them both. Why not?
Another segment on influencer marketing. Come on, let's do this.
Let's do it. But speaking of 90s television shows, something that I'm keeping my eyes out for is November 19th, later this week. Fresh Prince. They are doing a reunion show on HBO Max, and I actually loved that show as a kid. We used to watch it all the time, even the reruns. Still watch the reruns now. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And then also Will Smith is behind a new production of the Fresh Prince. I believe it's called Bel Air. It's a dramatic version, and some of you might have remembered the YouTube trailer, which dropped last year, and I think it was based on what if the Fresh Prince had taken place today with all the social issues going on, and then it was dramatizing it rather than the comedy. Will Smith saw the trailer and was like, we need to do this. So he contacted the person who directed the trailer, and NBC's Peacock, which is the streaming network from NBC, is picking it up. I think it's coming in November or December. And then if you want one more 90s show, I believe also on Peacock, we've got Saved by the Bell coming back. So it's that nostalgia that's coming back, and I love nostalgia.
Only if they bring back the original Aunt Viv.
She makes an appearance on they didn't show her, but they hinted at it on the HBO Max.
Okay.
So.
I might have to watch them.
I
liked her.
I want to see if Austin can sing the whole intro song to the Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Nobody wants to hear that, Thomas.
Or I want to see him do the Carlton. You know, if we were in person, I'd be like, dude, do the Carlton. This has got to go on the YouTube channel.
I don't have enough room, but I can't sing. I think I can dance, but it should be the name of our podcast. I think I can dance.
I can dance.
Maybe not. But anyways, some great recommendations. Just have fun during the holidays. Enjoy it with family if you do spend time with them. If you are doing the holidays remotely, try to find creative ways that you can, interact with family. There are ways that you can play games via Zoom, FaceTime, all of that. So just try to keep connected during this time. I think that's so important. But
yes, please stay safe. Follow the CDC guidelines. It's the one year that I'm actually going to be like, all right, we're going to have the iPad at the table with my parents on it. So that's going to be ours.
I like it. But Hattie, any parting thoughts?
Everybody have a safe holiday. Enjoy yourselves and stay safe.
Thomas?
Continue to have fun. Continue to stay curious, and let's be safe. That's really what it is. And make sure to buy pants that are a little bit bigger than what I'm wearing now.
You should wear sweats during the holiday season. I think that's the one takeaway. There's one thing you take away from the show. It's not about digitization, automation, humanizing. It's wear sweats, especially when that tryptophan kicks in.
We're on Zoom, so what makes you think I'm not wearing sweats now?
Touche. Well, Thomas, Hattie, it's been absolutely a blast to record episode 3 of season 3 in today's podcast. And of course, if you're not following us already on social media, just search @BizCommunicator. We're on all platforms. Go to YouTube, smash that like button. Give us feedback. If you want to email us the old-fashioned way, that's totally fine. Just podcast@ibchouston.com, or you can text podcast to 713-360-0133. Thanks again to our sponsors, Pierpont Communications and Mykrantz & Co. And on behalf of my co-host, Hattie Horn, Thomas Bain, see you soon.
You've been listening to the Business Communicators. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram @BizCommunicator and find out more about our chapter at iabchouston.com. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and leave us a 5-star review.